Hello, fellow readers. Welcome to my YouTube channel where the star is the book. And today's star is particularly shining. I'm talking of Too Loud a Solitude by the Czech author Bohumil Hrabal. It's a book which is as heartbreaking as it is heartwarming and as poetic as it is sordid. So, who was Bohumil Hrabal? Bohumil Hrabal was a Czech author and he lived between 1940 and 1997. So, he was a witness to the Nazi occupation of Czechoslovakia during World War II and afterwards the Soviet occupation. Throughout his life, he held a number of jobs, including compacting paper, which, oddly enough, is the occupation of the main character of the book, which is called Hanta. Hanta compacts paper in a thought-controlled society, and the book serves as a tribute to readers, to education, to culture, and a reminder that it doesn't matter how severe censorship is. Luckily, ideas always find ways to contaminate our hearts and our spirits. Hunter compacts paper, but he is extremely well read, only due to the fact that he saved thousands of books from being destroyed. The books were dumped at his basement where he has his paper compactor, but he saved those books from being destroyed and he started reading them. He collected about 3 tons of books throughout his life. To me, the book also shows what can happen when around us there's no really positive outlet to all your culture and education, and the thing that you cherish the most is looked down upon by the reigning powers, which in a sense is a metaphor for life itself. It's so dear and precious to us and our loved ones, but in the big scheme of things, so irrelevant to the remaining 8 billion people who happen to share planet Earth with us. So, Anta, poor Anta, he lives an everyday life, a miserable, abject, sordid, and degrading one. Listen to his description of his workstation on page 35. The basement seemed ugly. The warnings, outrages, and insults of my boss hammered in my head, pounded in my ears, as though they were screamed through a loudspeaker. My basement stank as an infected den. The old paper stacked from the bottom of the basement all the way up to the yard. That damp, wet and moldy paper which started to rot. A pile of manure would smell better. Even though he works in these appalling conditions, due to his encyclopedic knowledge, he is constantly surrounded by quotes and sentences and ideas of the likes of Goethe, Schiller, Kant, Nietzsche, Lao Tse, and Jesus. Listen to this description on page 53. I pressed the green button and red button, and I saw Jesus going up the hill. As Lao Tse was already at the top, I saw a young and fiery man who wanted to change the world, as the elder looked contemplative around him, and, returning to his origins, web is eternity. Great sentence. There are very interesting topics about the book. The first one being that culture really constantly save us from boredom, from ignorance, from gracelessness, from primarism. But at the same time, they're a double-edged sword, a Damocles sword hanging over your head. Listen to this description by Anta on page 29. Every evening I have books on top of me which threaten to kill me by falling, or at best severely maim me. That's how I live, the Damocles sword which I have suspended from the ceiling of my toilet and the bedroom force me on the job as at home to grab beer by the jug to save me from that magnificent disgrace. And I think that really extremely well-read people and educated people, they've been to the mountaintop, they have seen the promised land of human achievement, but to cope with our everyday life, which is so banal, repetitive, grotesque at times, and sordid, which attributes would you prefer to have? Would you prefer to be extremely thick skinned, or you prefer to be hypersensitive to beauty? Plus, let's face it, in our everyday life, culture, except if you are a producer of culture, really doesn't buy you much at the grocery. Another interesting topic I found about the book is that there's a very touching love story between Anta and a gypsy lady set in World War II, which, as you can imagine, doesn't really have an happy ending. And it's the only time in the book where the paper compactor that Anta operates serves its rightful purpose as a vengeful and annihilator artifact. Throughout the book, Anta keeps referring to his paper compactor as an altar, a way to summon up the ideas which he gathered from the books. But in this particular instance, it's the only part in the book where the paper compactor revenges Anta. Listen to this description on page 90. After the war in the 50s, my basement continued to fill up with Nazi literature. It was to me a real joy, lit up by the sonnet of my little gypsy lady, to compact hundreds of pounds of brochures and books on the topic, to compact hundreds and thousands of pages with pictures of men, women, and children ecstatic, old people ecstatic, workers ecstatic, farmers ecstatic, SS officers ecstatic, soldiers ecstatic. It was with great glee that I compacted Hitler and his entourage entering liberated Danzig, Hitler entering liberated Warsaw, Hitler entering liberated Prague, Hitler entering liberated Vienna, Hitler entering liberated Paris, Hitler at home, Hitler at a harvest festival, Hitler with his faithful German shepherd, Hitler with its soldiers on the front line, Hitler inspecting the Atlantic Wall, Hitler leaning over military maps. And the more I compacted Hitler and the women and children and the kids ecstatic, the more I thought about my gypsy lady. Extremely touching words. Anta later finds out that his paper compactor is being replaced by a newer model, and he sees that as a menace to his way of life. And I was reminded that our constant quest for progress, with its aseptic and machine-like efficiency, keeps discarding part of our humanity. We keep summoning up the best parts of our society to produce more and more objects in a more efficient way, but those objects keep excluding the human factor more and more. There's no denying algorithms, robots, artificial intelligence are going to be the new dawn of mankind, but they also risk being the new sunset of part of our humanity. Interesting topic I found about the book is that it keeps oscillating roles between heaven and earth, up and down, sublime and sordid. It's from the top of society that beauty is constantly sent to the bottom feeder, which is Anta in his basement, and he keeps destroying that beauty. He keeps destroying the things that at the top they have of most value. And Anta keeps destroying beauty in time of war, and in time of peace, he keeps destroying that beauty in the name of progress. So, it's a great book. It will make you cheer for the underdog, and the underdog is yourself, the reader, who keep compiling wealth that only you can see the value in. So, give it a try. If you're a good reader, it's a tribute to your constant fight against ignorance. If you've liked the video, please hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. It will help us grow. And until then, please read on. Reading is like putting a bunch of keys in the tiny hands of your brains. Even if your brain won't be able to open some doors, it will still at least be able to peep through the keyhole. All the best. See ya.